Welcome back to the Press Club. There's an important story that happened this week, which didn't make the headlines. There's not a lot of big fuss being made about it, but I think it was very important. It made page 7 in the Voice newspaper, and that was the Utilities Commission bill passes by Mr. Stan Bishop. The National Utilities Regulatory Commission bill dominated most of the 4-hour-long session of Parliament last Tuesday before it was eventually passed following some concerns by the opposition MPs. I suspect a lot of people didn't follow that. Did you have an opportunity to
Yes, I actually followed the sitting up till 12 when I had to depart for my radio show. Yes, it was a significant sitting from the standpoint that 2 of the bills that were passed affected electricity in one way or the other. The first was the Regulatory Commission that was established to replace the Public Utilities Commission, which had been established essentially to regulate how Lusilec electricity and water operated in St. Lucia, and telephones, public utilities. But that commission had been erased from the book some time ago as part and parcel of the arrangements that have come with the transition and metamorphosis of Lusilec from St. Lucia Electricity Services that it originally was to Lusilec, the company that it now is, the private sector company. First of all, one of the new regulations introduced opens the way for new investments in renewable energy. As we speak, Lusilec has an enviable 80-year monopoly license as being the only company that can develop and produce and sell electricity from fossil fuels. That is through petroleum. The new law allows for any other company, public or private, to invest in renewable energy. And here we're talking about solar energy in Soufrière, wind energy. We know there's a wind farm up by Bordelais. Solar energy, there are so many solar energy farms around the island, with even Lusilec talking about building a big one in Vieux-Fort. You know, and the various forms of non-fossil fuel energy in order to ensure that St. Lucia can have a clean energy future. That happened on Tuesday, and it came against the background that on Monday, although the 2 issues are not related directly, but on Monday, St. Lucia signed the Petro-Caribe agreement. And while St. Lucia is not in a place to have received not one single fluid ounce of fuel from liquid fuel from Venezuela under the Petro-Caribe agreement over the past 10 years, because St. Lucia does not have the storage capacity. The government does not own storage capacity for such fuel. Nonetheless, the agreement itself opens the way, as indicated by the Petro-Caribe president, for St. Lucia to cooperate with Petro-Caribe in terms of deepening the island's possibilities for energy efficiency. All of that is taking place against the background of, for the first time in a long time, I'm not sure if I can remember ever having seen it in the way that it was presented this past week, but Lusilec issued a press release indicating that the people would be paying less in light bills because the fuel surcharge would be going down because the cost of fuel has gone down, and that is the cost of fuel to Lusilec, not the cost of fuel at the pump. I suspect all of that was a positive response by Lusilec to the fact that there is a lot of discussion going around right now in government circles, in Parliament, and in the society generally about whether St. Lucians consumers should continue to have to, by law, pay Lusilec's fuel bill, because the fuel surcharge that is attached to each and every one of us light bill is a requirement by law that we have to pay Lucilec's fuel. Now, when that law was passed, Lucilec, for all intents and purposes, could have been described as a St. Lucia-owned company, a company in which majority shares were St. Lucia's, and certainly it was a company that was seen as St. Lucia's little electricity company that needed help to survive, and therefore if we could help it pay its fuel bill, there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't think anybody saw anything wrong with it, even though Recoil would still pay. However, in the last 20, 30 years, Lucilec has gone through some ownership changes. Lucilec is the best. It is acknowledged internationally and regionally as the best run electricity company in the Caribbean. It is also regarded as the best because it doesn't have to pay for its fuel, and therefore other companies involved in electricity generation in the Caribbean are looking at Lucilec as the fattened cow to be milked. And therefore what we have seen over the years is that a number of extra-regional companies based in Canada and outside of the region that have shares in regional electricity companies like Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, etc., have been buying into shares at Lucilec, to the extent that today it is questionable whether Lucilec's ownership, the majority of the decisive shares in Lucilec, whether it is at the level that it used to be when it was felt that St. Lucians should be coming to the eternal, should be eternal saviors of Lucilec. And that debate is going around as to whether Lucilec is not a sufficiently well-run and well-cashed company to be able to pay for its own electricity.
And fuel.
Yeah, its own fuel. Also, you have the issue of one of the reasons why the government is not able to get fuel from Petrocaribe in St. Lucia. The only country that has not been able to benefit from that is St. Lucia, is because only Lucilec and Hess Buckeye today have the storage capacity to hold such fuel, and both Lucilec and Buckeye are not necessarily looking forward to the day when fuel would be provided mainly from Venezuela and from sources that would not allow Lucilec to do its own brand of buying fuel on the market in its own way, like it has been doing. There's a particular way in which hedging.
Hedging, yeah.
Yeah. Lucilec would not be able to hedge if there's an agreement that will make Venezuelan oil available at half the price. What that would do is bring down Lucilec's fuel surcharge to half the price. It would cut their earnings from us by half. So I think that is a problem.
Yeah, but the company has always said, and it has repeated this week, that the fuel surcharge is a pass-on facility. They in no way benefit or profit from the surcharge.
Well, they do not. If they do not profit from it in terms of dollars and cents, they certainly profit from not having to dig into their pockets like we do to purchase our own fuel. So that I do not buy that. You know, it can say, yes, we're not unfairly treating St. Lucians, we're not stealing your money, because we are doing with the money what we ask it from you for. You know, we're taking it from you to buy fuel, and that's what we're doing, and we're buying the cheapest fuel we can. That's not the issue. The issue is, should we be putting our money, our pockets, putting our hands in our pockets for the money to pay for fuel for Lucilec? But having said all of this, like I said, we also have to admit and accept that Lusilek is a properly run company. Its leadership and the people who are running it have to be commented for the example they have been able to show in their ability to run an efficient company. The question is whether Lusilek can afford to survive without its customers paying its electricity bill.
Yeah, but you see, there are a number of issues here, and I suspect a lot of people, and whether it's a feeling on the media's part, Lusilek's PR or not, to pin those pictures for the public so they get a better understanding. The electricity cost is heavily subsidized by the private sector. So even if we bitch and complain about how much we're paying for electricity, it would have been significantly higher if that situation did not exist. Two, Lusilek is not responsible for setting charges for electricity.
Fuel.
That is enshrined in the law. Right? It's been repeated over and over. I'm not sure
Although
how much attention.
But there was no Public Utilities Commission to decide.
The other issue is opening up the energy sector to competition is not going to get rid of Lusilek.
Nor is it going to make Lusilek electricity cheaper.
Yeah, and I do think that has been explained to a lot of people who seem to be applauding, the moves by the government to pass this legislation, that somehow electricity is going to get cheaper, somehow you're going to have 100 other options and Lusilek is going to fade into the background. That's not going to happen at all.
When I was in China, I heard a news item where a political leader had issued a statement calling for the general manager of Lusilek to resign because Lusilek had somehow not passed on the lower fuel costs to consumers. Again, that is sending the wrong message. I mean, it's not the general manager of Lusilek who decides on the cost of fuel, and who says, I mean, he has responded by pointing out that contrary to that allegation, whenever the price of fuel goes down, it is the lower price that is reflected in Lusilek's fuel surcharge. So it's not like Lusilek buying the thing for 10 cents and charging us $20. So I think, again, as with all other cases, the extent to which we have an understanding of the issues. You've just explained some issues which the average person doesn't know, and which Lusilek might be accused of engaging in excessive PR if it were only doing that. Lusilek has a very active PR department, but again, the consumer associations, it's under new leadership now. One would hope that with the new leadership and the new vision and all of that, that the consumer association would emerge from out of being an office-based entity that operates, via the internet, to one that actually sees the need to be in touch with consumers in a bigger way, in a better way. I'm sure even Lusilek would work alongside with the Consumer Association to get a message across to consumers, to get them to better understand the pros and cons of electricity and electricity services.
I think one of the biggest issues facing the Consumer Association, like a lot of other organizations, is that the consumers that they're trying to protect and whose rights they're fighting for are not interested themselves. But we're out of time. Unfortunately, the time flies by very quickly, Mr. Busquets. It's a pleasure.
We won't even get to know whether Sunday for the United Workers' Party will be 2 days after Friday the 13th.
We'll hear about
Sunday the 15th.
We'll hear about it on Monday the 16th. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you back. Thank you for watching. We'll be back here next week to discuss issues affecting the media and stories in the news. We have promises from a couple other people that they're willing to come on finally, so we're looking forward to having them and having you join us as well. Until then, have yourselves a safe and enjoyable weekend.